morning. I call this news conference so that I could publicly address some of the personal issues that I acknowledged before Christmas. And before I begin, I want to publicly apologize to my wife, Bobby, and thank her. She's an amazing and wonderful woman who has done nothing to deserve the pain that I have caused her. And it's only because of her love and forgiveness that I'm able to stand here today at all. Bobby is here with me today, but obviously I will be handling this press conference on my own. This situation is entirely my fault, so I cannot ask her to stand up here simply for the purpose of easing my burden. I have prayed and continue to pray for God's forgiveness and grace. I also renew today my apology to the people of Arkansas who have important issues that demand attention rather than distractions of my creation. I want to use this morning to be clear about what I have done wrong and equally clear about what I have not done wrong. I continue to hear that rumors are swirling about whether some other shoe will drop. There is no other shoe to drop. There are no other women. There is no litigation that was ever compromised. No rules of professional conduct were ever violated. No state resources or dollars or personnel were ever used for personal purposes. I made a mistake for which I have taken and continue to take responsibility. But it had no impact on my job or the work done by the very competent and capable staff of the Attorney General's office. As I have said, I met Ms. Davis through politics in 2010. In 2011, we had limited interaction, some of which was inappropriate. To this day, including public events, Ms. Davis and I have been in one another's presence less than half a dozen times. The responsibility, however, for this falls entirely on me. I was married. She was not. I was the one in a position of public trust. I allowed a lapse of character and judgment to hurt my family, my friends, and my reputation. And for that, I am deeply ashamed and very sorry. I have been candid with my wife and forthcoming with the public. However, I do not intend to get into details on something that is painful and hard enough for any marriage to endure. I accept the responsibility for my mistake, but I believe that some measure of privacy is important, even for elected officials, and certainly for our families. I would like to address the issues related to litigation in which Ms. Davis was represented parties who were adverse to the state. At no time have I violated any rule of professional conduct. More importantly, I have never abused or violated the trust of my office. The Attorney General's office record of integrity is impeccable, and that includes matters involving Ms. Davis. The Attorney General's office routinely deals with attorneys from across Arkansas, including Ms. Davis. According to our records, since 2010, she represented 5 clients whose interests were adverse to the state. Those cases included 2 criminal matters, a consumer case, a veterinarian with disputes with the veterinary board, and the school choice case. I want to stress that the state prevailed in every matter in which our office opposed Ms. Davis, including school choice in 2010. And when the state did lose a school choice argument in 2012, she was no longer the attorney our office dealt with in the case, nor was she the opposing counsel at the hearing. My staff had no knowledge of my personal interaction with her, and it had no bearing on how our office handled cases involving her. I am proud of the exceptional work that our staff does every day protecting the people of Arkansas. I have released communications between myself and Ms. Davis in these cases, as well as interactions of my office with her on the circuit court order related to her custody case. I shared information including emails, travel records, and phone records with members of the media in order to demonstrate that no impropriety occurred. I want to address questions that have been raised about the death of Mr. Maxwell Anderson. First, I have never communicated with Ms. Davis or anyone else about the facts or circumstances surrounding Mr. Anderson's death. I have no knowledge of the status of the investigation. The Attorney General's office has no jurisdiction in the investigation, and I have never communicated with law enforcement about it. In short, I know nothing about it. Lastly, I want to address my candidacy for governor. I have always believed in public service. My desire to make Arkansas safer for our families and a better place for our future is as strong as it's ever been. You'll see that reflected in my service as a police officer, as a legislator, and as Attorney General. I would be honored to lead our state as governor and share my vision for the future. Bobby and I are very thankful for the stream of prayers, support, and encouragement that we have received from people all over Arkansas. We are committed to moving forward with my campaign for governor in 2014, and I do so humbly, recognizing that I need to earn the second chance that I'm asking for. I have loved serving the people of Arkansas, and I hope that I'll have the opportunity to continue doing so. I want to thank you again for coming, and certainly I want to open it up for questions. Andrew?
General, you, in the statement that you released a few weeks ago and also today, you described this as a limited, inappropriate interaction. Can you at least elaborate in terms of the nature of the relationship, when it began, when it ended, and last time you had contact with Ms. Davis?
Well, as I said that we met in 2010, I limited the inappropriate interaction to 2011. And the last time that I communicated with her was it reflected in the phone records that were released, which was when she had reached out to the Attorney General's office for assistance with a court order on her custody matter.
How long was the relationship?
Well, again, I don't intend to get into the specifics. I've described it as limited, that within 2011 there were some inappropriate, that was inappropriate in nature, but I really don't intend to get any more specifics than that. Yes, sir.
With regard to the order for possession, she specifically asks for your help. She says in the email, "Please help me," and attaches that court order. What specific help was she asking for, and did you use your position to try and influence that case?
No, of course I did not use my position to influence the case. She forwarded an order which was from a circuit court which directed law enforcement agencies to assist in the return of her children from out of state. The circuit court included the Attorney General's office on that order, and she forwarded it to us. She was treated in a very routine and professional manner. There was a brief phone call between myself, her, and the head of our Special Investigations Division. 2 phone calls were made to New Jersey law enforcement, and later that afternoon, Chief French notified her in a 2-minute telephone call that there was nothing more that the AG's office could do for her. She was treated like any other citizen who would have presented us with a circuit court order directing us to take action.
What action was she asking you to take?
Well, I assume that, she wasn't asking us to do anything. She was at the court order directed law enforcement to assist in the return of the kids, but legally that wasn't something we were in a position to assist with. Max?
McDaniel, why did you reveal the relationship at all? Was it because of the state police investigation of that case in Hot Springs includes her phone records and text messages between you that not been released?
No. There was a request for admission that was filed that included my name. When it was brought to my attention, I was honest with my staff about it and expected that at some point I'd be asked, and I only would have 2 options, which was to be truthful or not. And I, of course, intended to be truthful. And when you asked, I told you.
Were you concerned about text messages that might be in that case file in Hot Springs?
I don't have any specific recollection of text exchanges, but no.
Do you recall discussing with Ms. Davis the Raymond Beach capital murder case in which your office is still representing the state on his appeal of his conviction?
No, I don't recall Raymond Beach. Yes, sir.
Attorney General, what are your motivations today? Why now? Why are you addressing the public today?
Well, obviously we released the information just before Christmas. The focus during the holidays was being with our families, and of course there was quite a bit of weather that impacted a lot of people. Last week was also a holiday week, and so this seemed to be the best time, the earliest opportunity to come together and try to clear the air. As I said, I need to take responsibility for what I have done wrong, but there are an awful lot of rumors swirling around out there. Some of them I'm sure are politically motivated, and some of them are just reasonable speculation, and I need to be clear about the things that I have not done wrong. So this was a good opportunity to do that. Michael?
Just want to be clear, when you said no other women, what do you mean there were no other inappropriate relationships that you've had since you've been Attorney General? Is that what you're saying? Just want to be clear.
Correct.
So can you tell us definitively you've never been unfaithful to your wife other than with mistakes?
I think I've been clear, and as I've said, I know there are a lot of rumors, and I can appreciate that. But there are no other shoes to fall, and no, I love my wife very much.
General, what is your assessment? Obviously, the Republicans are quietly gleeful over this. What is your assessment of the damage to your campaign?
Well, I have to say that I may have underestimated other people's generosity and graciousness and willingness to forgive. People have been calling and providing me with a steady stream of encouragement, support, prayers. I've heard from mayors, county judges, sheriffs, legislators, voters, ordinary citizens in the grocery store who have offered nothing but support and encouragement. It's not helpful. I noticed the governor said that earlier, and he's right. It's not helpful. But I intend to be honest. I intend to be forthright. I've been forthcoming with the public, and I intend to move forward. But you know, Steve, you know I was a police officer, and I think you knew Floyd Johnson, who was the former sheriff and my chief of police. And when I was fresh out of college, he said, when you get in trouble, you need to come in and tell me before I find out some other way. And so I was prone to walk into his office and tell him when I'd made a mistake. And when I released my statement to the media just before Christmas, to me that was like walking into the office with my 3 million bosses and telling them that I'd made a mistake. And it'll be up to them to decide whether to accept my explanation and my apology and how we move forward. But I feel good about my campaign. I do feel good about where we are. And a fair assessment of the campaign is that we've got an early start, no declared opposition in the primary at this point. We we exceeded our 2012 fundraising goals, and people who are already committed to raising money in the course of the first quarter of 2013 have all indicated that they intend to keep their commitments and work even harder to move on.
Talk about the need to earn trust back. How do you do that?
I think this is a big start. First of all, when Max asked about the circuit court pleading that named me, I was honest about it. And I continue to be honest and forthright. I think that the most you can do is to tell the truth, be strong, and humbly ask for the forgiveness of your fellow man. That's what I'm doing. Yes.
You talked about earning a second chance. What do you feel you have to do to earn that?
I think I have to do my job and do it well. I think that I have to continue to focus on the issues that face our families. This upcoming legislative session is going to be challenging, and we have to make sure that the promises that we've kept on public education, consumer protection, law enforcement, that I go about my job and do it thoroughly and well. I think that I have to work even harder to set an example and demonstrate that I'm sincere with my embarrassment and remorse. You can't tell people that. You have to show people that, and that will be something that will take time. Max?
First, I want to correct one thing. The capital murder case in which your office is representing the state is that of Raymond Lee. That would not be, that was the case in which Andy Davis was the defense counsel, and I was curious whether you discussed that case with her. But on the murder case, are you willing to release your private text messages that are now in the hands of state police in that investigation? And secondly, although you are not involved with the investigation, state police is overseen by a state agency, of which your father-in-law is a presiding officer on the state police commission. Does that create a problem?
Mr. Fowler is not my father-in-law, and we are of no relation. There is no conflict between myself and the state police. There's no communication between myself and the state police on the homicide investigation. I don't even know the status of that investigation, where it is. And you had another question.
Well, I just want to be clear that the case that I asked about whether you discussed with Andy Davis was Raymond Leach. Sure. You said you didn't have a recollection of that case.
I don't have a recollection of that case, and that's not a case that I don't believe that's one of the two cases that
No, it's not. She's not on the appeal, but the state is, but she was a defense lawyer.
Okay, so that was a case that...
When y'all were talking to each other, my question was whether y'all discussed that case in private moments.
And so that's a case that she handled below, but that she's not adverse to the state now. Is that right? Okay, no. Yes, sir.
How can voters who are considering supporting you for governor be confident that there would not be more indiscretions from you as governor?
This has been the most painful experience in my life that I can recall. And truthfully, I have never seen such grace or dignity, compassion from another person in my life than from Bobby. Grace is the unmerited favor of God, and her love and forgiveness, at least through this instance, have been unmerited. And yet she's been free with it. I'm far more concerned throughout the rest of my life with being her husband than I am being governor, although I'd like to do both. But whether I'm governor or not, this will never be a concern in my life again. Yes, ma'am.
This is something that's been asked of many before you, but in your opinion, should the public see your personal life as a factor in your run?
There are aspects of my personal life that should remain private. Obviously, everyone has a need to protect their own privacy and the privacy of their spouses and children. Our children are amazing. But your character and your judgment are important for people to know. And I made a mistake and had a lapse in my character and judgment. But no one, save one person, has ever gone without a lapse in character or judgment at some point. And so during these difficult times, I'm trying to demonstrate that also my character is about responsibility and accountability. So they get to see that side of my character as well. Yes, sir.
You said Ms. Davis was treated like any other citizen, but would an ordinary citizen be able to call your office up and get, a chance to talk with you for 20 minutes about a custody case?
Well, Arkansas's legal community is actually a pretty small legal community. So yes, lawyers call me directly all the time, and it is very routine and common that a lawyer will reach out to me on some case or litigation or proposed idea for litigation, and I have an open door policy with opposing counsel. If they want to come in and talk to us, they get to do that. That never happened with Ms. Davis in any of these cases, but it is very common for me to communicate with lawyers all over the state. And I've always been very generous with my cell phone number, and so they call me directly, which is perfectly routine. And yes, anybody who sent directly to me a circuit court order where a circuit judge is directing us to do something, we're going to respond to the judge, which is what we did in this case. Sarah?
You said no taxpayer dollars were used, of course, in this interaction. Are you willing to release travel or hotel or phone records so the public can verify that?
We have released travel and hotel and phone records. We've given you everything that there is. And yes, we have done that, and if you didn't get them, we certainly will provide them again.
Are you willing to give unredacted versions?
Well, there are a lot of things on those phone, anything that is related to her, anything that's related to her was given to you in an unredacted manner. But the other phone numbers that for instance, are on my direct phone line, whether they're legislators or lawyers or agency heads or members of the media, that part we did not waive the working papers exemption.
Was there anything redacted in the information that you released that was done for political purposes?
No.
Including where your email address was redacted from one of the emails?
Well, certainly we weren't going to release my personal email address, which can be used for mischievous purposes. But it was my personal, or not my personal, it was my direct email account, and what we found that where there was email interaction between us, and we waived the working papers exemption for the purpose of transparency.
You're traveling on a state business on any of these Lincoln counters, Southern County.
As I said, there was no state resources used, no state cars, no state dollars, no state hotels, no nothing.
Were you on a state business at that time?
I don't think I want to get into the specifics of that level of specifics, mainly because I may misspeak, but there was never any interaction of state business and this personal interaction.
Have you communicated with Ms. Davis through third parties or other people since this admission?
I have not.
Do you plan on having some sort of communication or communicating with her in some way?
No.
Talk to us about at what point you realized you had made a mistake.
I knew the minute that I did something inappropriate that I had made a mistake.
Guys, we have time for one more question.
Other elected officials in similar position have either stopped their campaign or stepped aside from office. Did you ever consider that? Why or why not?
I never considered stepping aside from office. My office, as I said, has an impeccable record. The leadership that my administration, including myself, has provided has led to extremely good results for the people of this state, and I'm very proud of that record. And at no time did my personal mistake impact our office, and so no, I didn't consider that at all. With regard to running, again, I'm proud of my record. I have a vision for how I want to see this state move forward. I think that we are approaching an intersection of responsibility and opportunity where we can do great things over the next 10 years that will impact generations. We've been through such a difficult time, and we've kind of stopped thinking about long-term, tomorrow visionary investments in Arkansas, or at least we've stopped talking about it to some extent. And it's important that we do that, and I want to do that. But it'll be up to the people to decide who they want to lead as our next governor.
Guys,
General, you had argued for what today, for what has earlier been called a zone of privacy. you're entering into a campaign in what will likely be a very heated general election situation, if not primary. Two questions. A, can you, first of all, do you now anticipate a Democratic primary that may be rather unlike the one that you had envisioned? One, and two, can that zone of privacy concept hold in today's political arena?
Steve, I don't think I've really asked for much in the way of a zone of privacy. I think I've been very forthcoming both with the press and the public, certainly with my donors and legislators and the public at large. I've been very limited in the things that I've just simply declined to answer, and that was out of respect for my family. With regard to a Democratic primary, that's something that no one can truly predict. But what I can say is, back in the summer of last year, every returning Democratic legislator but one or two signed on to support my campaign, and at this point, none of them has retreated from their commitment. No donors have asked for their money back, although that's one of the rumors I've heard repeatedly. People are committed. The question continues to be, is there another shoe to drop? Which is why it's important to be clear that there is no other shoe to drop. I feel good about the way that the campaign is shaping up, and I like how we sit. John, did you have something?
Did I?
I thought you had your hand
Well,
up.
I was, yeah, at least there's no more questions. I just want to be clear. You never texted this woman, or you don't remember texting her, or you may have, but you're not worried about it. I didn't get clear on that texting issue in regard to Maxine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It may just be me. I guess.
There were texts, yes. We communicated by text. I do not have a record of those texts on my personal phone, and no, I would not release them if I did. But I don't have any specific recollection of what they would have been.
And worry about their involvement in another case was not a factor in your decision to acknowledge the relationship?
No, the decision to acknowledge, oh, I see what you're saying. No, no, the decision to acknowledge the relationship was that I was named in a public filing, and sooner or later, a member of the media was going to ask me about that. And I didn't volunteer it. It was still private and something that I very much wanted to deal with privately. But when asked, literally within an hour of being asked, I believe, offered a candid statement. Thank you for coming, and I hope you have a good day.
I have copies of